Oh hey. This video is dedicated to Elizabeth, who brought me cake this morning for Valentine's Day, which you know has already been devoured. This video is the beginning of my slow descent into becoming a booktuber. These are the beginning stages, just watch it happen. I brought all the books in a box, and if you notice there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. If you are a dedicated viewer, you might be thinking, but Katie, your New Year's resolution was to read 13. Guess what, son? I upped my game. See, I don't watch a lot of booktube, but I will if I'm ever feeling down and sad. But now I've discovered that I now make booktube videos when I'm feeling that way.
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine.
Just kidding. Some thick ones for the thumbnail, so it looks like I'm trying to educate myself and like I'm an academic. Like the whole black and orange vibes? Okay, okay. Let's split this up into two sections. Let's first do nonfiction and then let's go into fiction. Number 1, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by, what's his name? Wait, I'm not gonna look. Stephen R. Covey? Oh yeah. Now, you may recall like 10 videos ago when I talked about me reading this book then. Ta-da! I am excited to read this and get through it and become a highly effective person. Then you can deduce that I promptly gave up reading. But it wasn't my fault. I had to go and read a different book for school at the time, and so I had to put this on the shelf, and now I'm gonna circle back to it because I do want to read this and learn all the policies that are in here. I mean, when a book says over 40 million copies sold at the top, you know that the author's doing something right. And I think that the earlier on you can read some of these legendary self-help books, the better off you're gonna be for the rest of your life. So that's what I'm trying to do in these teenage years so that I don't flop in my 20s and I'm like,
what's the meaning of life? I've lost all purpose. I've wasted my youth.
I'm trying to avoid that existential crisis, and this is my preparation for that. Number 2, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. Now, if you'll notice, I am reading this book right now. If you'll notice, I am yay far into it. It's been very insightful. It's been saying a lot of things that make a lot of sense but I've never thought about before, and it really talks about the way that we think and the way that we can be influenced, and at the end supposedly he ties it back to economics. Daniel Kahneman won the Nobel Peace Prize for his work in behavioral economics, so there's gotta be some truth in here, but I'm very happy that I'm gonna have this on my shelf as I have read because it is very thick and I feel like it makes me look smart. Is that my true motivation for reading? Whatever gets you to read, man. Number 3, Coercion by Douglas Rushkoff. Yes, I said that right. It's about why we listen to what they say. I haven't heard or seen this book anywhere, but I found it at Goodwill like 3 years ago, and I picked it up and decided I wanted to read it. The person who owned it before me put a lot of annotations in it. I think that's always a sign that you know something's gonna be insightful. I don't know yet how it's gonna come in handy, but I've had it for 3 years, and so it's about time to read it. That was a very short nonfiction list. Number 4, fiction. The Devil in the White City by Erik Larson. This is a very reflective book. I didn't know whether to put this in fiction or nonfiction because it is a historical retelling of the events of the Chicago Fair and the murders. So in that way it would be nonfiction because it's like a historical book. But the way Erik Larson does it is he's a master of his craft. He super in-depthly researches historical events and then rewrites them as a novel, as if he were writing them as a story and not a history book. And I've had this book for a while, but I haven't read it yet, and I'm very excited to because Erik Larson is a phenomenal writer and it has that good book smell. Number 5, Dracula by Bram Stoker. If you'll notice, I am also reading this book. I'm only this far in. I think I'm like 60 pages. Yep, that's exactly accurate. And let me tell you, it is not the hot vampire story that my demographic craves, okay? A little disappointing, I know. It was written in the late 1800s, so what am I gonna ask for? But let me tell you, some of the ways that Bram Stoker actually describes Dracula, totally killing the vibes. For example, Dracula has a mustache, a long white mustache. that totally kills the entire vampire appeal. The book itself is written in like letter journal format, where instead of it being a story that Bram Stoker narrates or the main character narrates, it's supposed to be an accumulation of the main character's diary and then different letters sent between people. I never read books like that because that annoys me to no end. Back when Where'd You Go, Bernadette was really popular, I tried reading it because everyone was obsessed with it. I could not get into it because it was in that format. I even found in our like neighborhood book exchange box a signed copy. I picked it up, tried to read it, saw it was in letter format. I said, no way, and put it right back into it. So the fact that I am reading this book and it is written like that, it says something about the quality of this book. Number 6, Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, I think. This really stopped recording 3 books ago and it did not tell me. So rude. Going back to Their Eyes Were Watching God. Recap. I'm pretty sure it's a love story, 1930s era time frame. That time frame, 1930s. I have not been one who's gotten into romance yet. I probably will someday because, let's be real, I'm a big sucker for that kind of stuff. Number 7, I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. Oh my, the sun is coming through. I hope this isn't overexposing or anything. Ha! Using those videography terms that I don't actually know what they mean. Oh yes. This book is a landmark book. Everyone knows about this. So many people were required to read it in school. I wasn't, so I'm reading it on my own. I don't know a whole lot about the actual story. I'm pretty sure it follows the life of a girl in slavery. That's as much as I know. But because it is such a historic book and an American classic, I feel obligated to read it. It has a foreword written in it by Oprah Winfrey. And you know, if Oprah says to read it, I'm gonna read it. Am I just not gonna listen to Oprah? Like, come on. Number 8, Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. Everyone before me has already read this. I read like half of it in 8th grade and then stopped and never continued reading it. I was reading my 8th grade teacher's copy, which I still have and have not returned. I'm in 11th grade. That is something I do need to do. But in the meantime, I still need to read it. I haven't read a lot of books where I'm like, wow, this book is awesome. I can't put it down. And I've heard that people's experiences have been like that with this book, so I'm very excited to read this year. Number 9? Yeah, sure. The House of the Scorpion by Nancy Farmer. I'm very excited about this book because my friend recommended it to me. It is 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 of these fancy gold awards, so you know it's good. It's also very aesthetic. Like, look at that. It's all black with the red lettering and the creepy scorpion. So I am very excited to glue my eyes to these pages. Number 10. I read 10. The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Again, a classic. I've been filming for 25 minutes, so I really need to talk less about these books. It's supposed to be a story about a guy, Dorian, who's very pretty, and everyone knows he's pretty. He knows he's pretty, and that's the extent of what I know about the book. But I've heard this book quoted so many times, and Oscar Wilde is obviously like a legend in the literary world. I am very excited to read this and then be able to quote it and sound like an intellectual. 11. Monsters of Men by Patrick Ness. This is the 3rd book in the Chaos Walking series. Look at how thick it is. This is unacceptable. I've taken a long time to read this series. I started this series in 8th grade. I read the first one, I read the second one over quarantine. Now I want to finish the series here. And why, you may ask, has it taken me this long to get through the series? A little bit of commitment issues, not gonna lie. The movie is supposed to come out in May, I think, of this year. It's starring Tom Holland. Yes! And so I'm gonna be able to watch that, and I'll already have read, you know, the book series and be like, yes, I read it before there was a movie. Number 12? Yeah, I think it's 12. Paradox Bound by Peter Clines. I honestly also don't know what this book is about. This is a common theme for all the books, probably because I haven't read any of them. I know it's about time travel. This is another book that I picked up at Barnes & Noble's on an impulse buy. I was like, ooh, that looks good, and just haven't read it. Who would have thought? Who would have guessed? Honestly, it was just the cover art that attracted me. That's a very aesthetically pleasing book cover, and honestly, people who are like, don't judge a book by its cover. I always judge a book by its cover. If the book doesn't have a nice cover, I'm not gonna buy it. And you know why? Because authors pay a lot of money to have a really good book cover created for their book, because people do judge a book by its cover, and if if it has a really bad cover, you know that the author didn't like care about what their book looked like. This is completely just justifying my bias towards books and an excuse to continue doing that rather than actually researching the books. But yeah, pretty cover, so I'm reading it. 13. We're almost there. The Count of Monte Cristo. Classic. It passes the floppy book test. Also very shiny. There's this one YouTuber that I'll watch from time to time, and he wrote his thesis on The Count of Monte Cristo, which blows my mind. So there's gotta be something good in here. Last but not least, we made it, guys. Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Let me take off the cover because this is my only hardback and I'm very proud of it. I picked this up at a Value Village, I think. Thrift shopping for books is the best move because people will give away their old hardbacks. I mean, they're classic editions that their grandparents own that they don't want anymore. They will give them to the Goodwill and they have like a full museum of books there, and it's so pretty, and it's like, why would anyone ever throw these away? They're so beautiful. And I found this in the classic section and I'm very happy that I did. Why do I think I can read this? Because I have great expectations for myself. Yes, I said it. If you'll notice, I'm reading a lot of these books just because they are classics, but it's a good thing because they are classics and they are classics for a reason, and I will unlock those reasons and, you know, be able to talk about them in high class conversations with adults, and they'll be like, wow, she's not like the rest of Gen Z. She's different. Okay, I'm sure you guys are tired of looking at my grease-stricken ponytail for longer. This was my sad attempt at being a booktuber. I hope you enjoyed though. And if you have any book recommendations, please put them down below because clearly I need a little help. This one. Clearly I'm slightly sleep deprived now, which makes no sense because I'm literally on winter break. But anyway, see you guys in the next one. Bye.